you all process reality and communicate amongst one another? Kenneth Burke's identification and consubstantiality theory concludes that everyone's reality is different. However, communication has the power to intertwine these realities and form connections. According to Kenneth Burke's definition of man, Burke describes man as saying, mankind is a symbol-using animal, inventor of the negative, goaded by the spirit of hierarchy and rotten with perfection. Burke's main focus was the rhetoric of motives. According to the introduction of Kenneth Burke, Burke defined rhetoric as the use of words by human agents in order to form attitudes and induce actions in other human agents. According to Blakesley's identification and consubstantiality, Burke's main focus of rhetoric was identification, an instrument of transformation. Identification consists of speaking to one another, talking to each other, learning, and then going on to make transforming connections. There are 7 levels of identification. One is the involvement in groups, because this can cause a person to become more open-minded about the views of that group. The others are appearance, adapting language to the audience, visual symbols, content adaptation, which refers to using examples in order to persuade, reflecting the values of a group, and using previously supported sponsors in order to identify. Division is the counterpart of identification. We all have stuff in common, but there are things that each of us interpret differently, which results in division. The response to division is transformation, which comes in many different levels, from the most obvious to very subtle. There are 5 elements that determine motive: act, purpose, scene, agent, and agency. These elements help to determine patterns and meanings in life. Motive is not something that is just found in nature. It is more of a man-made thing, and it is what keeps humans going. According to symbolism in social movements, they use cancer in order to explain some of these elements. So, for instance, someone who is dying of cancer because it is God's will is looking at the perspective of purpose. Someone who has cancer because of the declining environment is looking at it through seeing. And someone who is dying of cancer because of their poor food choices is looking at the perspective of act. According to C.Y. Jackson, the use of rhetoric in public relations, Kenneth Burke's ideas help in public speaking and relating to an audience. Kenneth Burke's identification and consubstantiality theory has helped us in order to communicate amongst one another and find out how important communication is. Because as long as we communicate, we can form connections and join our realities together.